This is JordanTower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's get right into the news. All right, so we got the Diddy trial popping off today. Inner City Press is there. He pretty much keeps everybody up to date on a lot of these cases that are going on. Diddy arrived. Well, obviously Diddy wasn't brought into the courtroom immediately. His family showed up with free Diddy attire, everything. Now, there's a couple things going on. Beginning statements started. Diddy was brought in the courtroom after like an hour. Diddy has like 10 lawyers. Brian Steele's there. And let's see. So Combs Combs brought into the courtroom around 9 a.m. This guy's very detailed. Combs' lawyer Angelfo and prosecutor Maureen Comey are the ones in the judge submarine. I don't know what that is, but they're doing. I think that's like right when you get up by the judge and you can start talking to him, and they're trying to do preemptive strikes to the jury pool. They whittled it down quickly down to the jurors they needed. They struck a couple jurors. They got it down to the amount they needed. Probably by, it looks like about 11 o'clock. Let's see. Oh no, 10:17. Took an hour. They got all the jurors in place that they wanted out of the jury pool, and they started with opening statements. Now, in some of the opening statements, I did read somewhere that Diddy was accused of making Cassie receive urine from a hired prostitute dude. And I was like, bro, Diddy is like, he really treated her like crap, bro. Both sides cited Ghislaine Maxwell criminal trial here for the president to keep things sealed and confidential while they line up the standards. Okay. But that's the woman from Epstein case. Now, let's see. I'm just going through stuff real quick. I'm just reporting much higher if I can. Okay. So breaking. Sean Combs' lawyer challenged prosecutor's selection of jurors. Again? Wait. Okay, this was 3 hours ago. Okay, so they did that. I'm going to get to where Brian Steele was challenging the hotel footage with Diddy kicking Cassie as well. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here we go. In 2020, the Jane Combs was more upfront. This is like a Jane Doe. He told her he was dating other women, and she was still jealous. Jane wanted it public. He proposed a consensual threesome. They went to a private hotel. I expect her to say she enjoyed it. Jane was separate to be with him. Give him things others couldn't. She tried to make it more than sexual. I'm not sure how she will put it, but it will always come back to parties and hotel rooms. There was no like, this is one of his girls, Being a willing participant in a sexual life is not sex trafficking. So this is someone defending Diddy, Tenny Garagios. This is one of Diddy's lawyers. She was driven to try it in the first place. So she was like just experimenting, being Diddy's sexual deviant. She slammed his head into the kitchen counter. Months later, she flew to see him and invited an escort. She would call it one of her best nights, a wild king night, whatever you want to call it. This will be hard to watch. Wait, there's video of this? The government told you about someone named Mia. Why are we making these allegations now? You will include that everyone has a motive. Mia said she never said it before, nor she first started cooperating with the government. They all want money, they're saying, this is, why didn't they call the police? They are vindictive, Cassie filed a public lawsuit in 2023. She was living in her parents' modest home in Connecticut. She went to a civil lawyer. The civil lawyer is here today. They went to civil lawyers to make a money grab. Cassie demanded $30 million, and another asked for $22 million. How many millions of reasons do these witnesses have to lie? They kidnapping related to an employee. She worked for him for 10 years. She asked to work for him again. Drug trafficking. It was personal use. They worked hard. They were there to do something great and novel. It was free choice. So they're basically hammering down everything the prosecution is saying. They're like, nah, how could this be kidnapping? They were there for work, you know? On bribery, this is an Okay, here we go. On bribery, this is about the Intercontinental Hotel. He paid a security guard to make the footage go away. This was solely to prevent bad publicity for Combs and for Cassie. There was no law enforcement investigation. Then they broke for lunch. With the jury out, Brian Steele says, we will be objecting to 2 exhibits. The judge says, in the future, I'd like to hear this the day before. AUSA says, we only learned if they objected. This was an incident report about the hotel hallway, broken vase. The report has an addendum. Brian Steele also says, in the 3rd paragraph, he writes, he did not want Mr. Combs to see Cassie out in front. He talks about he co-worked Addy, A-D-E-Y. That Mr. Combs is about to yell. That is speculation. What? Let's see. Objection. We're still waiting for a defendant. Sorry, Combs is brought in. Okay, so they were waiting for Diddy to be brought in, and they're continuing. There were allegations made during this that I think the prosecution said that Diddy would make people pee in Cassie's mouth. Let's see, 122, they're back near oil. Okay, so here we go. Okay. I wish this guy that was, the inner city press, it's not all in order. Let's see. All right, so we're going to have to keep this. That's basically what's going on right now. They did their opening statements on each end where, the prosecutors are basically saying everything Diddy did, The prosecutors were saying the escort wanted to wear condoms, but the defendant did not let them. Jane tried to make them through these nights without drugs, but the drugs were a demand of the defendant, Diddy. She broke down and took the ecstasy to finish. Another time she vomited and said, and he said, go do it again. Jane found 2 men and invited them to join the freak-offs. She could choose the man she'd be intimate with. The defendant discouraged her from working. He had this must be Cassie, right? Not even a year ago, he went to her house. She was angry. She hit him. He became enraged. She tried to hide. She locked herself in the bedroom. This can't be Cassie. This is somebody else. He did not let Jane be. He says, you're not going to mess up my night. He said, call up an escort and perform. Jane followed his instructions. Mia and employees will tell you how the defendant forces himself on her and hands up her dress, penetrating her. Amidst all the violence, he and his inner circle worked to cover up these crimes. The video at the LA hotel, you will hear just how far this went. The defendant offered hotel security guard a wad of cash, a brown paper bag with $100,000 and $100 bills. The inner circle kept Cassie in hiding for days. For all of this, he is charged multiple federal crimes, racketeering, and conspiracy. Cassie and Jane, so Jane Doe, one of them is a Jane Doe, will tell you the most painful experiences in their lives. You will hear from the defendant's employees, including his personal assistant, Mia, who he sexually assaulted. She is grappling with it. You hear from employees forced into SUV with a gun, from Chef. They worked punishing hours without sleep. They brought drugs for him. They were expected to keep quiet. Some of these witnesses have already received settlements. You will also hear from some of the escorts. The defendant directed them and filmed it. An escort saw the defendant assault Cassie and dragged her on her face during a freak-off. You'll see records from hotels and the damage and the car services. You will see text messages in which the defendant tells the staff to bring cash for escorts. Jane saying she did not want to do the freak-offs. You will see the videos. In them, you can hear a defendant provide direction to Cassie and Jane, high on ecstasy. You will see a video of the defendant brutally beating Cassie during a freak-off in an LA hotel. Tons of lube, guns, medical bags. You will see an agreement with a hotel guard for the money to hide the video. Let me skim through a lot of this. You'll see fascinating. He grew up in Harlem and built a lawful business. He worked for it. He created a culture and produced music that changed a generation. Witness. Okay. Now it's switching. Obviously, this is from his lawyer. That's uplifting him. He's 55 years old. He's going to be Sean Combs. I'm Tenny Gray-Rose. I'm honored to represent him. We already kind of read a lot of her stuff. You'll hear about swinger parties. They will testify about things that should have never been heard in a federal courtroom. These were sexual preferences that were in private, basically. Cassie will tell you about jealousy of Kim Porter, and then Gina. And the day of the hotel hallway jealousy on display. The video is not evidence of sex trafficking. Cassie walked out of the hotel with 2 bags. Diddy was only wearing a towel. He stomps her and drags her by the hoodie and comes back around to get the phone. What causes a fight about a phone? Secrets and infidelity. As soon as he gets the phone, he sits down. He visibly disgusted. Cassie calls security. You will hear from him later today. The guard tells him to leave the public area. You will see Cassie telling him to get back to the hotel room. They stay together for 2 more years after this incident. Even on to 2018, they are fighting to stay together. She saw a photo of Combs with Gina. He started with her in 2014. All right. Well, that's what's going on with the trial right now. There's plenty of updates. I'm going to just update you at the end of the day, probably on this, because there's going to be a lot more stuff. I feel like this trial is going to be quick. 2 months. A month or 2. How much can you present, you know? You can hear from about, 50 witnesses. I mean, it could be 2 months, I'd say. And then we'll see what happens with Diddy. Jay-Z has been mentioned a few times, but is Diddy going to try to throw Jay-Z under the bus is the question. We'll see. This is Jordan Tower with JT News. I'll check you in the next one. Peace.